So ladies and gentlemen, we answer three simple questions and show you why team proposition wins this debate. First, whether the parents are in fact the absolute guardians here and should be given the direct autonomy over their children. We tell you while we recognize the fact, usually and in most cases, parents are the legal guardians. Parents do have the best interest at heart of their children, and hence we give them this right to make the choices in behalf of their irrational child who doesn't have information or experience. In this case, the context differs. We clearly show you why, when the parent chooses not to vaccinate their child, is when we forcibly do it via the doctor. Why will a parent not choose to vaccinate their child is the fundamental question. While clearly it's important that while vaccination is so important for the child to prevent these infectious diseases. We tell you for a number of reasons parents don't take this decision. It's either because they have been fooled by different propaganda of political parties, or by campaigns, anti-vaccination campaigns by different individuals. By getting their attention, people convince them of unproven facts about vaccination and make them discourage it completely, ladies and gentlemen. That's the first scenario. Second scenario is when they don't find it necessary anyway because of the lack of these sorts of diseases in status quo to begin with. But thirdly, there might be religious reasons which automatically prevents them from essentially giving this to their children. They believe it's wrong and it's not permitted according to their rules of religion, and that's why they do go ahead and don't take this one. But fourthly, because they certainly don't believe in vaccination in general and don't believe these sorts of medicines are helpful to people. And that's the situations we talk about when parents disagree to give vaccination, and in these cases they don't have the best interest of their child at heart, because at this point they don't care if the child is infected, they just want their opinion to stand. But secondly is when their decision is not even rational, and we tell you in these two scenarios the parents lose their absolute autonomy over the child, and it leads to a certain, and it can be considered abusive in general. First idea goes to our side, but secondly, you need to understand why exactly vaccinations are completely safe and will only help, because you need to understand where it comes from. It is not usually produced by private firms, because you don't get a large amount of profit from vaccination. But more importantly, we tell you whenever an infectious disease is on the loom, there are a large number of organizations which tend to extensively fund vaccination programs. For instance, ladies and gentlemen, when the polio outbreak occurred for the first time, the World Health Organization actually dispensed funds across the entire world to make sure everyone across the entire world is vaccinated and is immunized against this disease, ladies and gentlemen. We tell you funds will always be present, but even if it's not, ladies and gentlemen, at this large an extent, we tell you governments already have a health budget which we repeatedly tell you includes and covers the funds for vaccinations and if needed allergy tests as well. And even if that's not enough, we tell you there are always donors who look to help out the mass population by actually spreading welfare. We tell you there will be funds. Because of repeated stimulating and approvals from large organizations, vaccinations will be safe. But even if they're not, even if there are certain allergic reactions, it's still better than being infected by absolutely harmful diseases. So we tell you that vaccinations are in no way bad and they must be enforced. But finally, why is it the doctor's responsibility here? Because you need to realize who these doctors are. They are people who have taken an oath to make sure they prevent harm. They are people who are fundamentally responsible for welfare of society at large. Because you need to understand that domestic abuse, for example, is given to the duty of doctors to report these cases simply because they are greater guardians in society. They are automatically considered to have a greater moral high ground simply because their main task is to save lives. We tell you when it comes to saving a life in an urgent situation, they wouldn't care about consent. They wouldn't care about how much money they get at the end of the day. They just go on to save the life, and that's who these people are. By nature, they are morally sound, ladies and gentlemen. We tell you the likelihood of these people being the major doctors in society is far greater than the absolutely irrational and illegitimate doctors they talk about, ladies and gentlemen. But finally, we tell you the exploitation will not occur simply because doctors care more about their patients than the amount of money they get, and they don't have a money shortage to begin with. But finally, if they do go on to be bad doctors, you can always report them and get them punished, ladies and gentlemen. We tell you under these circumstances, our side actually proves to be a much stronger side in this house. But moreover, ladies and gentlemen, their solution is absolutely futile and will only lead to a shortage and a cutback in the amount of vaccinations dispensed. We tell you for the benefit of these children and for the benefit of society at large, go with side proposition today.